Yeah.
Okay. Um, can I assume that all of you were present for the last class?
No.
Okay, today let us understand what is method or what is function. In most of the programming language, we call it as functions, but in Java, we call this as methods. Let's understand what is this. Okay, I'll try to explain this in two different perspectives. First perspective, just let us take a case study. Let us take a case study of any login application. There is a login page. There is a login page. So the user generally enters username or the ID along with the password, and user clicks on login. Okay, the user enters some username, let's say admin, some password, let's say admin123. Okay, and then they click on this login button. Typically, if the username and password is correct, once they click on the login, can I say it is successful login? It must display home page. Okay, then let's imagine username and password is not proper. Then it has to come back to the same page. This is in case of negative scenario. It should give an error message saying that invalid user. Invalid user. Correct? So here in this example, this username, password, and I call it as error message. Error message. These are all called the data. These are all called as the data. What is the data type for admin? Sorry, for username, password, and error message? They're all alphabets or sequence of characters. So can I consider them as string? The data type is string. S is uppercase. Okay. This we already discussed. These are all the data. But here I'm performing some action. What is that action? I'm clicking on this login button. This is an action or an operation or a work. So when someone performs a click operation, then something must happen. What is that something must happen? The validation must happen. When someone clicks on, the user clicks on the login button, so the validation happens. So validation for what? Validation of the user. So it means to say some operation gets executed. This is called as a function. Okay, function can be correlated with a physical action or the work. I write something on the page or paper, I call it as an action or my work or operation. I eat, it's an operation. I sleep, it's an operation or it's a function. So function is something to do with a physical action. So when I click on this button, something must happen. What is that something must happen? That is the validation. A physical validation must happen. So that is considered as a function, or in Java we call it as method. In Java we call it as method. Okay, so we discussed with the data. Now we are going to discuss with this method. Let me take this, or let me explain this with a simple example. Let us write a class, simple class called as calculator class. Open the brace, close the brace. So I have written a class called as calculator class. Let me save this. In the desktop, I create a new folder called as examples. Here I'm going to save. I have taught you already what is the standard. The class name is calculator, hence the file name must also be calculator, and the extension is .java. Save the program. Okay, now if I want to execute the Java program, then I need to have public static void main string array as an argument. Open the main method, close the main method. This is called scope of main, and this is called scope of the class. Save the program. Now if I want to print a message, system.out.println, I want to just print the message, hello all, good morning. Now if I consider this example itself, can I just say this, I'm printing the message, I'm printing some message, hello all, good morning. So this printing itself is a function. It is something to do with a physical action. What it is going to do? It's going to print. So printing is also an action, hence print ln. Ln stands for new line, print on the new line. So this is also called as a function. This is also called as a function, or in Java we call it as a method. But remember, this is inbuilt method. This is inbuilt method. It is provided automatically by Java. Already it is provided by Java, so we call it as inbuilt method. Clear? But let us understand how to write our own methods, or how to write our own functions, and what is the need for the function with one simple example. Okay. Let me remove this. Think about this. I have to add two numbers as the part of calculator. I have to add two numbers. Then what do? I write integer first number equal to 10. Now integer second number equal to 25. So now I want to add these numbers. So result, or add result, equal to first number plus second number. Obviously when I add two integers, I get integer as the result. Correct? This is my result. Okay. Now I save the program. This is how I add two numbers. Can I consider as a whole, can I consider this as a function, or rather than calling that, I can consider this as the function, these two as the data, and this is a function or operation. For performing this operation, I have used an operator. This is called addition operator. Addition operator. Okay, I am performing some addition. Cool. I get the result. Okay, I get the result after performing this. So I print the result, system dot out dot print on the new line. I print a message, add result. So obviously this simple function prints the result as 25 plus 10, that is the result will be printed as 35. This is the result. Imagine now I want to add another two numbers with the different data. Now I write another number, integer I equal to 50, 50. Now integer or double j equal to 500.5, some data. Okay, this is a decimal value, hence I'm considering double, or if you want you can consider it as float also. Now I consider double result equal to I plus j. Why it is double? Because when I add a numeric non-decimal with the numeric decimal, I get a decimal data. That's why I consider this. So think about this. As of now, as of now, I have performed a second operation. This was the first operation and this is the second operation. So yourself, think about yourself. You are using a calculator, physical calculator. Do you really think you are going to perform this addition operation only once? So a, a shopkeeper, he uses the calculator very often to calculate. As and when the customer comes for the shop, after shopping, they have to calculate what is the billing amount. So obviously they need to perform this addition operation, but they don't do this addition operation once or twice or thrice. Multiple times they do. Correct? If I want to simulate that using my Java program, I'm performing the addition operation once, I'm performing the addition operation twice, thrice, or multiple times. If I want to write the same code again and again and again, I can call this as code redundancy. Code redundancy. So I'm writing the similar code again and again, that is multiple times I'm writing this code. So instead of doing this, what is the solution? Can I say it simply increases the code base? It simply increases code base, increases my code base. So as and when the more and more code base, the code is increased, maintenance become difficult. Maintenance become difficult. And also the main thing is code redundancy. Unnecessarily we are writing the similar code again. So instead of this, instead of doing the same operation multiple times just because of the fact that datas are different, here different data but performing the same thing, here different data but performing the same thing. Instead of performing the same thing just because of different data, it's always better. What I'm going to do here is I write something called function. I write something called function. What this function do? It is going to add two numbers, the first number and the second number. Okay, in Java we call it as method. In Java we call it as method. Here once you write this method, okay, you give the name for this method and I call it as add number. Add number. I give a name called add number. So add number is my function which typically adds two numbers, and here I call this add number method. Add number. But I want to really add these two numbers, so that's why this add number function must to take input. Must to take input. Okay, and after adding two numbers, it must return me an output also. So typically a function or a method is the one with the name which takes the input, performs some logic or work or operation, and it may give some output. This method I call add number. I pass as 20, 10. Now when I call this, here it goes, executes this function, add 20 plus 10, returns me the result as 30. Again I can call add number. I pass 100, 200. Again it is executed. Like that you can call it any number of times. So to summarize this, a function or a method is the one which performs some logic or work or operation, okay, which can be called any number of times. It can be called or invoked. It can be called or invoked any number of times. That is 0 to n number of times. So a method is executed only when we invoke this method or only when we call the method. If we don't call the method is not going to be executed. So what is the advantage of this method? The first advantage, it reduces unnecessary code, or my code redundancy can be avoided. Code redundancy can be avoided, first thing. Okay, so once I avoid this code redundancy, the same code can be reused not only within the calculator program. Tomorrow I write another program called shop, where in the shop the shopkeeper wants to use the calculator. There also I can use the same method. So hence I can say I can reuse this method. So if someone asks what is the advantages of a function or a method, first thing, I can avoid code redundancy, and second thing, a method can be reused in my entire project or in my entire application. So what is a function or a method? It is the one which performs some logic. Okay, so this is the need for a method or a function. Now let us go in depth of programming paradigm of this method, that what is the syntax to write the method, how a method takes an input, how the method returns an output, what are the different ways of writing the functions, how to call the function. So all those things let us understand. Before I continue, so good time to ask you questions. Any questions? Any doubts?
No.
Okay.
Shishira, but in between I'm unable to hear you speaking. It's going, the screen is going, it's just freezing and then again it's starting back.
Okay. Is it the same problem for others also?
It was okay for me, Shishir. It's okay.
Okay. For now. Sheetal, in between, if you had not understood something because of this
Uh,
screen problem, you can ask me questions. I can try to answer your question.
no, no, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. See, guys, if you have any problem in the infrastructure, don't wait until the class gets over. You can stop me at that time so that I can pause and I can again resume the class. Okay. Fine. Fine. Let me take you through. Let me take you through the syntax of writing the methods. The syntax for writing the method is: a method must have the name. The method must have the name. Method must start with the flower brace, end with the flower brace. This is called as the scope of the method. So whatever I write here, it is the scope of a method. Okay, this is the starting of the method, end of the method. Possibilities. This method can take input. It is not compulsory that it has to take an input. It is Optionally, you can pass an input. How many inputs? 0 to n number of inputs. Okay, on the right side of the name of the function or the method, it is the space for taking an input, and here we give an output of the method or output from the method. It is again not compulsory that a method has to return an output. The output can be 0 or 1. Remember, the method cannot give multiple output. The method can give 0 or 1 output. When I say 0, the meaning is the method is not returning any data or any value. When I say 1, the method is returning some data. Okay, this is the syntax of writing the function. Okay, let me take you through some examples so that you will get a better clarity on this. I want to add two numbers. I give a function name as or the method name as add, open the brace, flower brace, close this. This is called as function scope or method scope. For me to add two numbers, I can do it in different ways. I don't take any input, empty. So that is 0 input. Okay, 0 input. Now I add two numbers, integer result equal to 10 plus 20. Okay, this is called as an expression. Okay, I'm using addition operator and I'm adding two numbers. I get a result as 30. I just use system.out.println. This is the shortcut, system.out.println. I'm just printing the result. What I'm doing in this add method, I'm adding two numbers, printing the result. It prints the result as 30. But I'm not returning anything. That is, the method here is not giving you any output and nor taking any input. If a function or a method is not taking any input, leave it blank, and when it is not returning any output, very important, we need to mention void lowercase compulsorily. As like I said, a method can give 0 or 1. When you say 0, it must use or you must write something called void. What is the meaning? The method is not returning any data. Lowercase, okay? Void. This is one example. Slowly we'll modify the same example. There's the same function add is not taking any input. Open, close, is not taking any input. Okay, I'm just adding two numbers, integer result equal to 20 plus 30, but I want to return this result. Then I use a keyword called as return. Return. Return is a keyword, all are lowercase, which indicates the method is returning some data. What data it is returning? Result. Okay, so this is the scope of the method. The method is not taking any input, that's why 0 inputs here, and it is performing an addition operation, but it is returning the data. Here very important thing what you need to observe, it is returning the result. What is the data type of the result? Type of the result is an integer, hence I need to here mention as an int. here we mention the return type, that is the data type of the value which is been returned must be mentioned. Clear? And we call this as return type. We call it as return type. Clear? So in a method, either there has to be a return type or it must be void. Or it must be void. What is the meaning? If a method has void, the meaning is the method is not returning anything. Not returning anything. The method is not returning any data. When a method is not returning any data, you must mention it as void and you must not write return. You must not write return in your method. Example, I write a method void m. This is my method. M is the name of the method. It is void open close. Now I say return 30. This is contradictory. Why? Because you are in the method you are mentioning void. Void means it is not returning anything, and also you are using return. So this is an error. Either you must avoid this return, or what is the data type of 30? An int value. Either instead of void you should use int, or instead of you have to take out this return statement. So either of the one. So this is a wrong program. Clear? So this is an example for a method which is not taking any input, no input, but is giving only one output. This is the actual returning data. This is the actual returning data, and this is the type of the data, which we call it as return type. Clear? So put together whatever I write within this open brace and close brace within the scope of the method is called as implementation. Some people also call it as method logic or method body. This is not a good word to use, method logic or method body. We should call it as method implementation. Whatever you have implemented within this method is called as method implementation. This is called as method name. This method takes 0 input. Input is also called as parameters. Remember, input is also called as parameters. So this method is taking 0 parameters or 0 input and returning one data, returning one value, and the data type is called as return type. This is the simple syntax of the method. Same method I can still improve. Observe this method. You call this 10 times, it simply calculates 20 plus 30 and returns 50. For example, I'm going to call this method now add. It gives me a value called 30. I call this once again 30. I call it once again 30. Imagine I give you a nice calculator, or you yourself purchased a nice calculator by paying, it's a very costly scientific calculator. You paid huge amount in purchasing that calculator, and you just switch on. You're very happy because it is displaying good colors and good background light and all. Now you try to perform some addition operation. It always performs 20 plus 30. How do you feel? You don't feel it as a generic calculator. Every time it does the same, correct? So instead of that, what do I do? Instead of that, I write one method, add method, open, close, open, close. Now what do I do? Instead of just taking the raw data inside and performing some addition, let me take two inputs as first number and second number. Okay, first number and second number, and I call integer first number and integer second number. So this is called input number 1 and this is an input number 2. Input is also called as parameter, hence I call it as parameter 1 and this as parameter 2. This is a two parameterized method. What this method does, inside I'm going to add integer result equal to first number plus second number. So I'm adding two numbers and I'm simply returning the result using a return. This is a keyword, return result. Okay, now observe, I'm returning the result. Okay, what is the data type of that result? Integer, hence the return type must be an integer. Observe this color combination, you may understand. I'm returning the result. The data type of the result is an integer, hence the return type must also be an integer. Now this is a very generic method. You can call this method any number of times. You can call add and you can pass 20, 30. You can call once again add 500, 600. Okay. You can call once again add 1000, this is called invoking the method or calling a method by passing the data. Okay, it's very important to understand one thing. When a method is taking parameter, it is compulsorily we need to pass the data. The number of parameters and the number of parameters and the number of data that we are passing must be same. Here two parameters, two data. These two data that you are passing while calling the method is called as argument. There's a small difference between an argument and the parameter. This is the variable. If you look or if you observe very closely, this is a variable. What is a variable? Which holds the data. This two are the data or parameters or the variables which accepting end we call it as parameter, and at the passing end I call it as argument. Okay, simple example, let's say there is a tap. Let's say there is a tap. You open the tap, the water comes from the tap and you collect that using a bucket, right? So this bucket is called as parameter and the water is called as argument. Whatever comes as an input is called as an argument. Whatever collects is called as parameter. So I'm passing some data which is called as argument, and this is the one which stores the past data. So first number is going to store 20, second number stores 30. So second number, first number is called parameter, 20, 30 is called as an argument. That's the difference between an argument and the parameters. Okay, so here I can call this method any number of times. So I can say using this method I can achieve reusability and I can avoid code redundancy. In the entire project I can call this any number of times, and also my unnecessary code base is reduced, right? Because of this reduced code base, okay, the program can be maintained. The maintenance of the project or the program becomes easy. Okay, these are all the advantages of the function. This is one example for function or the method. Any questions? Let us take an example of login. Why I take this login is typically when you write the test cases in most of the applications, login is one of the common test case that you write. Okay, so how are we going to automate this login as a method, or how do we write this login as a method? Think. For me, as of now, just this is the method name, open brace, close brace. This is called as the scope of the method. Okay, scope of the method. What I need to perform here is I need to check whether username and password is valid or not. I'll repeat, I have to check whether the username and the password is valid or not. So to perform this check, I need two inputs. What are the two inputs? One is username, comma, the other one is password. So in a method, you can have any number of input parameters, but those input parameters must be separated by comma. For example, you can write a method called add one number called integer I, comma, integer j, comma, double k, like that. You can have any number of input parameters as the part of the method, but they must be separated by comma. Okay, it's a simple syntax. Coming back to this example, now you apply your simple common sense and tell me the username and the password. What should be the data type of username and the password considering the realistic scenarios? Can I just say it as string?
No, the password can be alphanumeric.
As I said that alphanumeric can be accommodated only by using string.
Okay.
Right? String generally stores alphabets, alphanumeric with special characters. Everything is accommodated by string. Okay. So now this must take username and the password. It must check whether they are valid or not. If it is valid, just assume if it is valid, then it must return true. If it is invalid, it must return false. So from this method to the output can be, either true or false. If the username and password is proper, it returns true. If the username and password is not matching, then it returns false. So what is the data type of true or false in Java? Boolean. Hence the return type of the method must be Boolean. Return type of the method must be Boolean. Okay, so I must have a return. Return is a keyword which we use to return the actual data. Okay, now one more thing here, I need to perform the logic to check username and the password is proper or not. Let us write that logic. Okay, let us write the logic. Generally, to perform the username in the real time, in the actual project, we'll have to communicate to the database, and in the database you will have user table, and you need to check whether it is username and the password is proper or not. For doing that in Java, we need to use something called a technology called JDBC, Java Database Connectivity or Connection, which we will not understand, or which will not take this subject as of now. This is option number one. Or you can store the test data, that is username, password, you can store in a file, right, in file, any file, and then you can communicate to that file and check whether the entered username password is proper or not. For doing that, we need something called Java IO, that is Java input and output. This we are going to understand in future, not now. Okay, and this is typically any text file. If you want to connect to, let's say, an Excel sheet, if you want to connect to an Excel sheet, because I have stored username password in Excel sheet, then I want to validate whether given username and the password is valid or not, then from my Java program I have to communicate to this Excel sheet and take the data and compare the data. For doing that, I need to use an API called Apache Py. I use an API called, this is API, I use an what is API we'll see in future. So we'll use an API called Apache Py. Okay, so these are all just, I'm just giving you an overview. We use JDBC to communicate from Java to the database. To communicate from Java to a regular text file, we use Java IO, and to communicate from Excel sheet or any other Microsoft Office document, we use something called Apache Py as an API. Okay, but as of now, since it is a very beginning of our Java classes, you cannot understand JDBC, all these things at this level. So let me take, or let me assume, username as admin and password as admin123. So if someone enters admin and admin123 as the password, then is a valid login. If not, it is an invalid login. Okay, let us do that logic. Fine. Okay. So can I say I have two datas now, or two input parameters? So this is called parameter 1 and this is called parameter 2. This is called parameter 1 and this is called parameter 2. So to perform the check, or to perform the condition, we have some conditional operators that we need to use. For example, if in any programming language, or scripting language, you could see this. If, what is the, you need to, this is the syntax. If condition, open brace, close brace. What is the meaning? If the condition is correct, or if the, when you check condition, if the condition is true, if the condition evaluates to true, then it executes this. If not, this is not executed. That is, if the condition is false, when you check the condition, if this condition evaluates to false, then this portion will never be executed. First, let me take you through this if condition, if else condition with different examples, then I'll come back to this login example. Okay, let's say I have integer age, some age, okay, 19, integer age equal to 19. I have to perform some condition that if age is less than, let's say, 24, just an example, okay, I'm just telling you an example. If the age is less than 24, I have to print a message that concentrate on studies. I have to print a message saying that please concentrate on studies. Or if the age is, more than 24, and I say I want to just print a message, get married, or try for job, or some message, okay. Let's say if the age is above 50, I have to print a message, go and settle in Himalaya, do some meditation, something like that, okay. Just giving you as a funny example. If the age is more than 50, as I say, settle in Himalaya. So how do I perform this? I can perform this by using if condition. If age is, if the age is less than or, one second, less than or equal to 24, then I should print system.out.println concentrate on studies. Concentrate on studies. A simple example. This is how I perform a condition check. This is called scope of if. Okay, this is called the scope of if. So observe, what is the value of age as of now? Value of age is 19. So age is less than or equal to 24. What is the value of age? 19. 19 is less than or equal to 24. Is it true or false? It is true, because 19 is less than or equal to 24. It is true, hence it comes inside and prints the message saying that concentrate on studies. Simple example. Okay, second example. So if one second, if the age is, let's say, more than 24, if the age is more than 24, then I just have to print a message system.out.println of search for job. Search for job. Okay, search for job. But this may not be true. Even, like, if the age, someone comes with the age as 80, the age as 80, let's say. Now if the age is 80, just an example, age is 80, so age is 80 less than or equal to 24 is not correct. That is, this condition evaluates to false. Age is less than or equal to 24 evaluates to false. Hence this is not executed. It is not executed. The control comes here and starts checking if age is 80. 80 is greater than 24. Yes, it is true. Then you are mentioning search for job. At the age of 80 he cannot do that. So I need to perform a multiple checks here. I need to perform multiple checks here. What is that multiple checks? I need to perform age is greater than 24 and then this is multiple check, and this is not single ampersand, it is dual ampersand. You need to mention 2 ampersand. This is AND condition. Okay, AND condition. If age is greater than 24 and age is less than 30, then you mention search for job. This makes more realistic. Okay, just giving you an example. See, don't try to concentrate more on these messages. Okay, okay. Here what I'm trying to demonstrate is, like, how to perform these conditions and what are the operators. What is this operator? This is called greater than or less than or equal to operator. This is greater than operator. Condition called AND. This is also an operator. So like this, we have multiple operators available. One is greater than, another one is less than, equal to operator. This is called equal to operator. This is called assignment operator. I'm assigning the value of 80 into a variable called age. This is called assignment operator. Okay, how do you check whether the age is 30 or not? If age equal to 30, so this is called equality operator. This is called equality operator, and this is called assignment operator. Don't get confused with this. And we also have something called greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, right? And here we are checking for AND condition. Similarly, you can check for OR condition. This is two pipes. This is for OR condition. Okay, this is for AND condition. Like this, we can perform lot of checks. Let me take you through one example to explain how just think about this example. I write a class, or just let me directly explain that without writing any class. I have integer age equal to 25. I have to perform one check. If do something, that is, if age is less than or equal to 24, then system dot out dot print ln of system dot out dot print ln of concentrate on studies. Similarly, if the age is greater than 24 and the age is less than 30, then search for job. And the last one, if the age is more than, let's say if the age is more than 30, then I just say take care of family. Simple example. Okay, very simple example. How the Java compiler works, let us understand internally how Java compiler works. This is little important. First, let me open this. First, it goes by the line by line compilation or execution. Okay, so it first executes this line. Now the value of age is assigned to a variable called 25. So age value is 25. There is a variable called age, value is 25. It checks age is less than or equal to 24. That is 25 is less than or equal to 24. No, it is not correct. So this is not executed. It comes and checks age is 25. 25 is more than 24 and 25 is less than 30. So here this condition 1, condition 2 both are checked. Condition 1 as well as condition 2 both are checked and both satisfies, hence it executes this. Now it comes and also checks for this condition, that is age 25 is greater than 30. It is false, hence this is not executed, but this condition is checked. This line is executed. Please try to understand, this line is executed. Now once your condition is executed, I don't want this to be executed. Why this unnecessarily this has to be executed? So this checking of this condition or checking of this condition definitely takes some time, maybe milliseconds of time, but definitely this takes some time. When my condition is executed here, and if you don't want the further processing to happen, then what we can do is we can use something called else if. We can use something called else if. What is the meaning? When I say if some condition and else, what happens is this: else is executed only if this condition returns false. That is, if this is not executed, then only else is executed. If this is executed, that is, if is executed, if block is executed, then else is not executed. Else is not executed. So that is, either of the one is executed, either the if or the else. So now compare this here. If the age is 25, this particular if block is executed and else part is never executed. Else part is never executed. Please observe, else part is never executed. Hence, I can save that milliseconds of time which generally is taken to check for this condition. Earlier, if you don't use else, if you don't use this else, then this condition will be checked. The checking the condition also takes some time. But now, since I'm using else condition, okay, the else part is executed only this is not executed if this condition does not execute. But in my case, since the value of age is 25, the if is executed and hence this part is never checked. So hence my performance of an application can be increased. So what I'm trying to demonstrate is, wherever possible, if it is required, go for if and else condition if you really required it. Okay, so if is executed, else is not executed. If is not executed, else is executed. Okay, any questions?
No, Shishir.
Am I clear? Okay, now we have understood how to check this if condition, if else condition and all. Now let's come back to the original example, that is login example. So I have to, so today's class I started with an example of methods, right? So let me write a method called a login method. Okay, one second, just let me close this. Let me write a login method first. Login method. In the login method, open brace, close brace. This is called as the scope of the method. Scope of the method. Okay, and this takes two input parameters, multiple input parameters, parameter 1, parameter 2. They are separated by using comma. What are the two parameters I need? I need string username and string password. String password. Please observe, string is uppercase. String is uppercase. Okay, I have two parameters. So as like I said, here I need to check whether username and password is valid. If it is valid, I need to return true. If they are not valid, then I need to return false. The data type of true and false is Boolean, hence the return type of the method is Boolean. Boolean. So now let me write the condition. If condition. If username equal to, because this is username, it's a string value, check for this. If username equal to admin and condition, because both has to be matched, not only username. If someone enters username properly, password improper, then it is not a login, valid login. So both has to be executed. Username and password equal to admin123. Okay, you can start it from here itself, or you can start it from here. Then I must return true. I must return true. Else I must simply return false. Okay, and returning value is a boolean. The data type of this returning value is boolean, hence I have mentioned the return type as boolean. So this is AND operator, this is AND condition, this is equality check, and double equals to perform the equality check. Okay, so two parameters. Fine, let's say if someone calls login, method name is login, if someone invokes this method by passing admin as the username and the password comma password as A123, let's say it's a wrong password, A123, then can I say the method returns admin? Can I call it as an argument? This is called parameter, this is called argument. Number of parameters, number of argument must be compulsorily same. Two parameters, hence two arguments. This is accepting end, this is called passing end. Okay, so when I call the method with admin and add A123, the username is admin, password is A123. So this condition evaluates to false. That is, username and password is not matching, hence this logic is not executed. Instead it goes to else block and it returns the value called false. So it returns the value called false. It returns the value called false. Okay, same thing, instead of this A123, if you pass admin123, then the same method returns true. Now how to accept the value returned from a method? The method is returning some value or the data. How do I accept? Accept it in the form of another variable. I take another variable called result. This method is returning either true or false, and I accept that value in the form of another variable. What should be the data type of the variable? The data type of, that is a return type of the method, must be the data type Boolean. It's very important because the method is returning true or false. There is a Boolean value, hence I accept it in the form of Boolean. So acceptance and return type must be the same. It's pretty simple common sense. When a tap is giving some water, You should accept this water appropriately by using some bucket or some container. If you use some chair to collect the water, it is meaningless, right? In the same way, if the method is returning appropriate value, I should accept that with an appropriate data type. This is how we call the method. This is called argument. This is called accepting type. Clear? You can call this method any number of times. So let us write this method. Let me write a class. I call it as login test case. Login test case. Open the class. Okay. And I need to write public static void main. Let me copy public static void main. It can be in same line or different line, does not matter. Okay. Let me save this file. The name of the file and the class name should be same. Class name is login test case. Hence file name is also login test case with an extension .java. Save this program. Okay. Now let me write a method called boolean login. If you want to give a proper name, check, say validate login. Validate login. What are the two parameters? String username, comma, string password. Okay. Then check for if condition. If condition, else condition. If and else. Remember, there can be lines between if and else, but there cannot be any other executable statements. For example, here integer I equal to 25, something like that. This is called as executable statement. You cannot have any kind of other code. Instead of me calling it as executable statement, you should not have any other code in between if and else. If and else must be associated together. If and else must be associated together. You cannot separate if and else. You can just have only if. This is perfectly possible. But if you are adding else, then the else must always be associated with if loop. Else cannot be present alone. Not possible. Okay. So what is my check? If username equal to admin and password admin123, then I just mention return true. Return true. Else I mention return false. This is my program. This is called scope of from here to here, red color, scope of method called validate login. This is scope of if, this is scope of else. Very important, one more small thing. Any data member that you declare within if, for example, double d equal to some data. So this is a data member or a variable which is present within if block. You cannot use it outside the if block. So this is called scope of if. Any variable that is declared within the if cannot be used outside the if block. Are you clear? Similarly, if you declare anything within the else, here I declared this cannot be used outside the else block because the scope is only limited. Last thing, as the same way, if you declare any data member within a method, observe the scope is from line number 3 to line number 12. You can use it only within this. You cannot use this variable outside the method. Such type of variables or data members are called as local members. They are called as local members. Clear? Local member means any data member or a constant which is present within the method or within if block or within else block. They are called as local members. Any questions, please ask me.
Shishir, you have declared the public stat void below the logic. Is that also correct, or does it have to be necessarily?
Okay, fine. No, let me explain that also. See, I'll tell you the structure of a class. Okay, this is for everyone. When I write a class, remember this. Within the class, you can have any number of methods. I call it as method 1, method 2, method 3. Main is also public static void main. Remember, main is also one method. Okay, method 1, method 2, method 3, main method, and after that any number of methods. Clear? So, but all the methods must be present within the class. Okay, so what is the conclusion? Within the class you can have any number of methods. There is no limitation. 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 1 crore method also, but realistically we don't do that. But there is no 0 to n methods we can write. And in which order I should write the method? It can be method 4, main method, method 1, method 3, method 4, whatever, sorry, method 2. The sequence of the method can be anything. Any number of methods can be written, and the sequence of the methods can also be anything. And main method, there is no rule that main method should be present at the last or at the first or at the last or at the middle. Any method can be present anywhere, but it should be present within the class. I can write main method as the first method, then I can write other methods, or you can add main methods in between any other methods, or you can add the main method as the last method. Anything is fine. Is it clear?
Thank you, Shishir. Yeah,
okay,
clear.
Okay. And also, it's very important in Java. Let's say I have a class, some class, okay, some name. I have two methods. Okay. One is registration method, login method, okay, or just let me write it in a different way. First, let me use some simple example. Let's say I have few methods like m1 method. I don't want to use these kind of examples, but still, just for easy understanding, I have written. So 3 methods I have written. This is one method, another method, and the last method. 3 methods are, but they are the part of the class. Now, if I call m3, m1, 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 m3, m2, please observe, The sequence of method declaration, we call it as method declaration. I'm declaring a method. In what order I have declared? M1 first, this is second, this is third. I said that declaration of method can be of any sequence. But when you call the method, this is also based on your choice, okay? But method is executed based on the sequence of calling. First M1, M3 is executed once. How many time executed? One time executed. Next you are calling M1. So second M2 is executed. How many times? 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times is executed. Then you are calling M3 once again. Third execution sequence. It is executed once. So method can be declared in any of the sequence or anywhere, but it should be present within the class, and the sequence of execution is very important. So this method, since it is present as the or declared as the first method, it will not be executed as the first. It is declared first, but it is executed depend on the way you invoke the method, depending on the invocation of the method. Clear? And any method can be called any number of times. Clear? Fine. Now another very important thing, a method is executed only when it is called. Only when it is called. What is the meaning? I have a class with some method, anything. Let's say simple example. There is a method called yum. You declared the method. Declared. You declared the method, but this method, this declared method will never be executed if you don't call them. So a method is executed only if you call or invoke. I'll repeat, a method is executed only if you call that method or if you invoke the method. The question, how I'm going to call, or how can I call the method, or how can I invoke the method? Okay. Here, very important, the way of calling the method depends on whether it is static method or non-static method. I'll repeat this. The calling the method depends on whether the method is static or non-static. When I introduce this word static, you have definitely the question, what is the meaning of it? Okay. So to explain static, I need at least one class, one complete class. Okay. But as of now, you can think that the static means it belongs to the class. Static means it belongs to the class. Non-static, for example, this method, whatever you are seeing, this is a non-static method. So if I mention this method, this is static method now. Validate login is a static method, correct? Main method is also a static method. Remember, main is also a method like any other methods. So now the validate login is a static method. If I take it out, this becomes non-static method. So static method belongs to the class, non-static method belongs to the object of the class. I'll repeat once again, static method belongs to the class, non-static method does not belong to the class, instead it belongs to the object of the class. Here many people may get a question, see, this is also the part of the same class. Now you're telling it does not belong to the class. I say This does not belong to the class, but it belongs to the object of this class. So what is object we are going to see in immediately next class. Okay, but this belong to the object of that class. So now you may get a lot of questions like what is static, what is class, what is object, how the object is related to the class. All these questions we are going to understand in our next class. But as of now, just what you need to understand is how to call a method. If it is static method, call it by the name. That is, imagine this method is static. I said that if it is static, it belongs to class. Call it by the class name. What is the class name? This is the class name. Dot. Using the dot operator, class name and the dot operator, call the method. Validate login. Class name dot validate login. It is taking two parameters. I need to pass two arguments. 1, 2. Admin123 is my password. Admin is the username. This is how we call a static method. Okay. If it is non-static method, we need to call it through object. We need to call it through the object. How to create an object? Object is created from a class. What is the class name? Login test case. Okay. Let me create an object here. Login test case object name equal to new. New means creating a new object. This is how I create a new object. Class name, object name, new keyword, and then again the class name. Created an object. Now when I say obj dot, on the dot operator of an object, I can call the method. What is the method name? Validate login. Assuming that this is non-static now. If it is non-static, I said that it belongs to object of the class. That's why I'm creating an object for a class like this, and on the dot operator, I'm calling that method. On the dot operator, I'm calling the method and I pass some username. Let's say username is finance and password is finance123, like this. Okay. I write the complete note here. This is static method. Static method belongs to class. Static method belongs to the class. Hence it is called by using the class name. Hence it is called by using this class name. It is called by using class name and the dot operator. Okay. Whereas this is if it is non-static method. If it is non-static method, it is called by using the object. If it is non-static, then it belongs to object of that class. Object of that particular class. Here I have created an object. This is an object. Okay. This is an object. This is an object. Object of which class? Object of login test case class. Okay. This is how we call the methods. Any questions, please ask me. I know you are learning object without knowing what is object. Okay. So this is how we call the methods. Any questions, please ask me. No questions? Okay. And one more very last important point that a static method can call non-static method. A static method can call non-static method. A static method can call a non-static method using an object. And it cannot call directly. Very important. A static method can call a non-static method using an object and it cannot call directly. Just as an example, go through this. Main is a method. Validate login is also a method. But validate login is a non-static method. Right? But main method is a static method. A static method cannot call a non-static method directly. For example, it cannot call like this. Validate login using some username password. Shishira username password, let's say secret. I cannot call like this. Okay, if you want a static method and to call a non-static method, create an object. How do I create an object? An object can be created only by using the class, or without the class we cannot create an object. What is the class name? Login test case. Login test case, this is the name, equal to new. New means a new operator. Login test case. Okay, then this is object is created. On the object, using the dot operator, you can call the method. How many times I can call? Any number of times you can call. Just giving you an example, okay? But we generally call it only once. But if you want, you can call it multiple times. Possible. Perfectly possible. This is called method invocation. This is called method invocation. What are all the things we learned? A method can be called any number of times. Method declaration is not important. That is, the sequence of method declaration is not important, but the execution of method sequence is important. A method can call other method, but a static method can call other non-static method only by creating an object, and it cannot call directly. Okay? If this method is static, assume that this method is, or I write another method, okay? Just an example, I write another method which is a static method. Add method. This method does not return anything, hence I need to mention it as void. It just adds two number. Integer result equal to 20 plus 50. Just an example. So this method is static method. Here observe, static method belongs to whom? Class. Hence you can call the static method using the class name. This static method belongs to which class? The class in which it is declared. In which class I have declared this method? Inside the login test case class. Hence you can call that method by using dot operator on the class name dot operator add method. Okay, how many times I can call? Any number of times you can call them. Okay, this is just a syntax. So now don't worry about what is the meaning of static, what is the meaning of non-static, what is the meaning of object, why should I create an object from a class. Don't worry about that. Is it clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Shall I continue for another? The class is scheduled for 2 hours. Can I continue for another 10 more minutes? Is it fine for everyone?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. How about others? Just maximum 10 more minutes, okay?
Yeah, fine for you, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. So imagine this case. In my class, some class, okay, calculator class or whatever the class, I have few methods. I have few methods. Let's say for example, void m1. Just giving you as an example, okay? One method. Okay. Another method. Another method. But there should be difference in the name. M3 method. 3 methods are there in this class. Question, all are non-static methods. Can one method of a class, can it call the other methods of the same class? Okay, perfectly possible. Let me save this. I'll diagrammatically explain. Let's say I have a class. This class has m1 as the method, m2 as another method, okay, m3 as another method. Okay, this is class called one class. .java, after compilation we get the dot class. Another class called two dot class. As per the good practice, this must be uppercase. Just a good practice. Okay. Here also have few methods. Here I can have similar method m1. Please observe. Method name is m1. Here also method name is m1. But this m1 is present or declared inside one dot class. This is declared inside two dot class. So method name can be same, but they are present in different classes. Okay, but just to avoid confusion, I am just writing m10. Okay, another method called m12. Another method called m12. Different possibilities. One method of a class can call the other methods of the same class. Can call other methods of the same class. This is option number 1. Or one method of a class can also call the other methods of the other class. Other methods of the other class. This is method present in two dot class can call m1 method, can call m2 method any number of times, or can even call m3 method any number of times. Also it can call the methods of the same class. Clear? So a method of a class can call other methods of the same class any number of times, or the other methods of the other class any number of times. Again, it depends on whether it is static, whether it is non-static. Static and non-static. Okay, let's consider the first case. Let's consider the first case. That is, M1 is static method, M3 is static method. M3 is static method. Okay, or M3 is not a static method. Let's say M2 is a static method. Now M2 has to call M1. M2 has to call M1. Both are present in the same class. Okay, how it can call? I just said in the previous example that static method can call the other static method, or static method belong to the class, hence it must be called by using class name. What is the class name? 1. So M2 method can call M1 method using class name dot M1. Class name dot M1. This is semicolon, okay? This is how it can call. Now this method has to call these methods. How method of one class can call the method of other classes, like these two methods? They are static. That's why you can call by using 1 dot M1, 1 dot M2. So pretty simple. Don't make it complex. Very simple. If it is static, it can be called by using class name. As simple as it. Whether it is within the same class, it is present outside the class, does not matter. Okay. If it is static, call it by the class name 1.m1, 1.m2. As simple as it. Second case. Let's say it is non-static. Very simple. Non-static must be called by creating an object. So static means using the class name. Non-static means by using the object. Okay. So now if I want to call, this is very important. If I want, I write one more diagram and I explain. Till now, any questions, please ask me before I move on to that non-static. Ask me any questions if you have. Or if you need some time to analyze this diagram, you can. Same diagram, but the second iteration. In this, we are going to talk only about non-static methods, okay? There are two classes. This is 1.java, 1.java, or after compilation you get 1.class. Another one, 2.class. Because we can execute only .class file, we cannot execute .java, hence I'm considering .class. Here I have methods like M1 method. Again, I'm telling you this M1, M2 are not good practices or good standards, but just for learning purpose we are considering these methods, okay? Two methods. This is M3 method. Here you have methods called M10 and M12. These are all the methods. All are non-static methods, okay? All are non-static methods. So here also a method can call other methods of the same class, or the method can call other methods of the other class. Perfectly possible. But we are considering that all methods are non-static. When I say they are non-static, does it belong to the class or object of the class? Non-static methods belong to object of the class, hence you need to create an object. But here there is one freedom. If a class or if a method wants to call the other methods of the same class, then object is not required. I'll repeat. Non-static method means they are object specific, but since you are calling this method from the other methods of the same class, then you need not to call it by the object. Directly you can call by using m1. If you want to call this method directly, call it by using m3. Are you clear? Without creating any object, you can directly call the methods any number of times. M1. So within the class, if you are calling a non-static method, you need not to create an object. You can call it directly by the name. But if you want to call the methods of any class from the methods of the other class, then you need to create an object. Let's say now I want to call this method called m3. m3 is present in a class called 1. Hence create an object by using one class. How are we going to create an object? Using the class name 1o equal to new 1. This is how I created an object. Now I just call o dot m3. o dot m3. How many number of times you want to call? You can call them. There is no limitations. Right? That's it. You can observe this diagram for a while.